What's going on, gentlemen? This is episode 32 of the Danger Ranger podcast. Gonna be a short one today. Just wanted to get one out. I wasn't gonna do one, and then I was like, I should do one. Planning on doing a live podcast this coming Friday, maybe Thursday, which might be kind of a weird day. Prefer Friday though. We'll check with Van Heel and Shoe about that, but yeah, should be good. So I'm gonna kind of start doing podcasts on like each phase of Ranger School. Maybe talking a little bit more in detail. Some of the stuff might be repeats from other Ranger School videos that I've done, but I figured we'd start out with Rap Week. So Rap Week is the Ranger assessment phase. It's basically the PT test, the land navigation, the 12 miler, like all the physical gated events prior to going to what is it, Camp Rogers? Pretty sure it's Camp Rogers. No, Camp Darby. So Camp Rogers is the main base. It's where Ranger School is located, like headquarters wise. And then you have Camp Darby, which is where you actually go out and do your FTXs. That's where all the planning bays are. That's where the man, I can't even remember the name. They had a name for it, like Darby Hall. But that's where the rocks are. That's where the roll-ups are, where you store your dang duffel bags during operation. You get them, like, I think in between. You get to get into them once, like in between the 3 days of missions and then the last 3 days of missions. So Rap Week. Anyways, we're just talking about Rap Week today. So you start with in processing. So in processing is pretty chill, at least when I was there. Like, it took fucking a minute. We were coming from CERT, which is also on Benning. And as a Ranger, you'll go to CERT first prior to Ranger School, which is 3 weeks. So we went direct from CERT to Ranger School. We sat on the rocks for a long ass time. We got in process. You get a peanut butter shot. You fill out some paperwork. And then they kind of give you an in briefing on what the week is going to look like, and kind of what to expect, and like just, basic stuff. They don't fuck with you the full first day. So they're not allowed to smoke you the first day. At least when I went, I'm pretty sure it's probably still the same. Because, mine was the last hard class, even though they didn't smoke us on the first day. But you don't get smoked because they want you, relatively fresh for the PT test. You're going to do a bunch of administrative bullshit the first day. You don't get your initial SIF issue for Ranger School until towards the end of the week. I want to say it's like Wednesday. It's before you do the ruck. But they don't do it right away because a lot of people get dropped from the PT test. So I think you do your initial issue like day 2 or day 3. So first day chill. You don't sleep much during the night. I will say that I got maybe like 2 hours. We had, because you have more people than there are spaces in the barracks, because they know that people are going to get dropped. So we had like some kind of rotating guard roster. I don't think anyone did it. But we also somehow simultaneously didn't get any sleep because people kept moving around, like trying to get a bunk and shit. So first night you don't sleep, wake up, do the PT test. The infamous Ranger School PT test. There are people that do get 40. I think it's the 48 club. I should probably look this up. Ranger School standards. And it's probably going to change because I know that the RAS PT test has changed to the ACFT standards with like the hand release push-ups. Ranger School PT test. I imagine that they're going to change the Ranger School PT test as well. So yeah, 49 push-ups in 2 minutes. And there was a ton of people that would get 48'd. There's a lot of different urban myths as to how to avoid getting the 48 club. They're like, oh, be in the front of the line, or oh, be in the back of the line, or don't be in the back of the line, rather. I don't remember where I was. I want to say that I got to one of the lines and I was like one of the first people in the line, and they like split us up, and I went to another line and I was near the back. So I was a little stressed. But you're like around this big combatives pit that's full of wood chips. And then there's like sandbags on the side, and you're lined up outside the sandbags, and all the PT test graders are inside. This is like by the Malvesti Obstacle course across the street from Camp Rogers. And they call, next soldier, whatever, you run out, freaking, if they tell you to drop top, you drop top. If it's a, colder weather class, you'll be wearing like the full winter PTs or whatever. And like, you want to drop top even though it's cold, because you want them to see you going all the way down and locking all the way out on the push-ups. I didn't have any problems passing the push-ups, did them pretty well. In CERT, what they started doing, because they knew that fucking the RIs like fuck people on push-ups. Like, it's not a myth. It truly does happen. And so what they did before we went is they tested us all on metronome push-ups. So you're going down on the beat and up on the beat, all the way down, all the way up. And they made sure all of us could do minimum of 49 push-ups. I think we tested to like 55 or 60 metronome push-ups, and, being graded by regiment cadre the whole time. And so if someone did fail, like, they had a reason to be able to go back and say, hey, like, we just tested this guy last Friday and you're telling me that he fails the push-ups on Tuesday. It doesn't add up. So that's something we started doing, and they did start seeing some good, I guess, results from that. Like, they would go and they would call bullshit on the RIs, and the RIs would let them come back to school, I think, in the next class. I don't think they let them get in right away just because they missed the rest of the events. But anyways, I digress. So push-ups easy, sit-ups easy. And if you fail those, you get sent over to the retest line. And I think the retest line is like in the same day. And then I've also heard of people who have failed, who have like done both flanking maneuvers and gotten in the passing line after the push-ups and sit-ups. I don't recommend you trying that. However, it is something that I have heard of, and I have heard people be successful with, just because that's just that specific part of the PT test is kind of fucking bullshit, because they do try and slim down the herd quite a bit right off the get-go by screwing people on push-ups. If you go, don't worry about it. Like, just do your best. It's still rare that that it'll be you. That's all I'll say on that. 5 mile run, pretty standard, was pretty flat. I went during my classed up with 0617. It was the beginning of May, so it wasn't too hot, it wasn't too cold either. It was leaning towards warm, and 5 mile run was pretty chill. I don't remember what I ran it in. They give you a popsicle stick at the end, and you turn around and come back to prove that you made it all the way to the turnaround point. You got verify it's like you have 2 sticks, and like the cadre like keep one that's like, okay, 47 and 47. As long as you pass in under 50 or 40 minutes rather, you're good. It's fine. And then you do the 6 pull-ups, which easy as well. At one point, when we were doing like a cool down walk or lap around the track, or we were running at some point, I fucking ate shit really bad and scraped the hell out of my left knee, and like, it was bad enough to like where it bled pretty considerably, which was a little bit concerning. Not because I scraped myself, but I was like, fuck, dude, like, this isn't the cleanest place in the world. Like, I'm worried that it's gonna freaking get infected and I'm gonna get fucking dropped for med reasons. Ended up being okay. It was fine, and it became a non-issue after a couple of days, so I was happy about that. All right, and then immediately after, man, let's see. I'm going to make sure I get the correct order of these events. So you do the PT test. All right, here we go. And then the next thing you do immediately after the PT test is the combat water survival test. So that one is actually kind of fun. You walk across the beam, like, you can Google this. You climb up a little ladder. You walk across a beam, you walk up and over a ranger tab, you walk to the end of the beam, you get out onto a rope, you freaking commando crawl out on the rope over to a ranger tab, you ask the RI permission to drop, and he'll say, do a pull-up. He'll say, do a pull-up, and you do a pull-up, and then drop into the water, and then swim out. And then the next thing you do is you ditch a combat load. So you put on like an FLC, fighting load carrier. You have a rubber duck, and they push you into the water. You have to like swim out of it, and then swim a certain amount in boots again. And then the last thing you do is the zip line, which I had a fun time on until the very end. I fucked up letting go somehow. Like, it's pretty straightforward. Like, you hold on to the thing, and like the dude has a flag to the side, and he like will flag you when you drop. I did that, but what I think happened with me is my feet caught the water, and then my butt didn't catch it, but my feet caught the water, and I like somersaulted into the front of the water, and I got a minor concussion from that. I had a headache the rest of rap week, which I was like, fuck it, dude, we're gonna do it live. And then that night, or during that day, you get like a little bit of a land nav class, right? And then at night you do the combatives pit. So you've had a full day of fucking PT test, combat water survival test, land navigation, hand to hand. At this point, they can smoke you. So in between all these events, like you're fucking doing push-ups, you're getting fucked down on the rocks, whatever. Day 3, you do land nav. So they do prep you. I don't remember when you do the damn the CIF. I think you do it on day 4. But you do land nav on day 3. Land nav was pretty straightforward. They give you a fucking GPS tracker to like make sure you're not cheating, like using other candidates, other students. I want to say that I found all my points. Like I got close to not find. I think I did 4 out of 5. I think there's 5 points you got to find. I want to say that it's a self-correcting land nav course, and it's not a huge training area. The only part that would suck was if there was a swamp in the middle. So if you had to like cross the swamp for any reason, or if you had a point, there was like 1 or 2 points in the swamp, you were just going to get wet that day. I managed to stay dry. Didn't have too much of a hard time finding my points. They were all relatively easy to find. Like the Ranger School land nav, like that's the easy part for land nav and Ranger School. The fucking hard part comes when you're actually doing patrols and you're not sleeping and you're carrying your fucking rucksack. Like you don't carry a rucksack during the Ranger School land navigation, as opposed to like SFAS where you do carry a ruck. All right, and then the next day is you do go pick up your CIF. If you fail the land nav, you get a chance to retest it. And then you get you do a 1.5 mile buddy run and the Darby mile. Well, I think that's the same thing. So you do the buddy run and then you do the Malvesti Obstacle course. So the buddy run, like you run with a rifle, camelback, boots, uniform, and you have to be within arm's length of your buddy at all times during the run. Once you complete the run, you stand in line and then you do the Malvesti Obstacle course, which was kind of a fucking... that was my least favorite compared to the damn Darby Queen. Like the Darby Queen you do at Camp Darby is much worse in my opinion. Did I say that backwards? I don't know. The Darby Queen was kind of fun. This one was shitty because you were in fucking shitty water, mud, wood chips, and you're getting smoked severely prior to, like, you just did a run and then you're getting smoked on the way to the actual obstacle course, like on the track on the outside of the Malvesti. If you Google it, there's like a bunch of like little mini obstacles that they have you do, and it's like you have to do them to standard. And then you start the Malvesti, and Malvesti, I mean, once some of the obstacles were fun, like the big ass ladder, like that one was kind of unique. But like you're getting your fucking dick smoked in between. So like on the rope climb, like a lot of people didn't have the strength to do the full rope climb, and then they fall. They have to do freaking corrected PT, and you can only fail an obstacle twice. You get 2 tries at it. If you fail it twice, you get a major minus, or a minor minus. I'm not exactly too certain, but enough of those will stack up, and it can cause you to recycle. So try to avoid it. But I think the wrap week ones don't really matter too much. The one that I failed was the damn the monkey bars, because they have you do these monkey bars over this water trough, and they like spin, and like all the other dudes before you have had fucking just wet messy hands, and so all the bars are incredibly slick, and I got about halfway or a little bit more than halfway and fell, went back, and I was like, this is fucking dumb. I'm not gonna burn myself out because I don't think I'm gonna be able to make it to the end by this point. So I took the major minus, I think. I want to say that I didn't finish it. I might have, but I don't remember being super successful in that one. It doesn't really matter at this point. Like, it's fucking Ranger School. It's fucking 6 years ago. And then you do like the little fucking low crawl under the barbed wire, and you finish, and then you're done pretty much for the night. And then day 5, so you've got your ruck, you got all that shit before. Day 5 is your actual 12-mile ruck, and you start that one super fucking early in the morning, like 3:30, maybe 4 in the morning, and you fucking just go. And after that, you get some classes on Ranger School, like troop leading procedures, kind of like the planning kind of basics of classes. And the rest of that day is relatively chill. And then the guys that are airborne are going to prep for their jump the next day. So they're going to do freaking, on day 6, you're going to do your whole airborne refresher. Make sure everyone's good, because some guys haven't jumped since airborne school. Like they had their 5 jump chump, and then they come to Ranger School and they're like, oh, I get a jump here. And so they do a pretty extensive basic airborne refresher for those guys, just so they're not a hazard to themselves or the other jumpers. And you jump in, and then you're jumping into Darby. You get trucked to Camp Darby, and then that's when you start your actual shit. And it's a good time. But rap week, nothing to be afraid of. Just don't worry about the PT test. Just crush it. It's going to probably change at some point to the new standard of hand release push-ups. It hasn't been announced yet, but I know that in RASP, that's what they're doing right now. And I imagine Ranger School will follow, just because the whole Army changed over to the ACFT. But that's kind of a short down and dirty of rap week. I had a buddy who failed the push-ups, went back. This dude was a stud. Like, there was no reason he should have failed push-ups. Came back next class. I recycled Darby. We were in the same company, and then we went all the way through to Florida together. He was in my platoon, back on the line in battalion. Awesome guy. We had some hilarious stories about some of the freaking idiots in our platoon. He's still in, but I might reach out to him and see if when he's getting out, so I can get him on the podcast, because he's a character. Trying to think of any other funny rap week stories. There's not really a whole lot that I remember, honestly. Like, it was kind of a blur, and I only did it once, so I have a little bit more detailed stories for Darby and Florida for sure. Mountains not so much, because I only did one. But yeah, so hopefully this was entertaining. Hopefully this shed some light on Ranger School a little bit more, and I'm going to catch you all later this week. Have a good one.